I am very happy to welcome you all here today, and I'm happy that Tom was able to make it. We've been at the Senior Center, been doing a series of gallery presentations with our friends at the BI Photo Club, and Tom has been a member of the Photo Club since 2018, and has been taking pictures for a few years before that. And this year, his number came up and he agreed to show some pictures. Unfortunately, due to COVID, they couldn't be in our lobby, but we're doing what we can by putting them up on our website. And so they are up this month, and for as long as Tom will let us keep them, I guess. And he is sharing some pictures from his trip to India in 2017. And so I will, in just a moment, hand over the microphone and the presentation to him. I do want to remind you all that we are participants in One Call for All, and this is the red envelope season. And so I encourage you to, if you haven't already, look for the red envelope or go to onecallforall.org and support the organizations that matter most to you. So with that, Tom?
Hey, welcome. As you can see from my speaker here, I'm in India. I figured out the other day how to be in two places at once. Changed my background, so that was a major learning. Yeah, you covered kind of a little bit of my background. I moved to Bainbridge about 10 years ago in November, and from Houston. When I retired in 2015, I bought a real camera. After having, kind of doing point and shoot, and probably the world's worst print photographer in the world, with, pictures of kids and things like that. And then I took a few classes. I joined the photo club, 2018. And, that's been a incredibly good experience, a lot of support. I have grown because of the critiques and the amount of learning that's been occurred, through the meetings, and so that's been a really positive thing. My interests have primarily been in travel, street photography, taking pictures of people. I've done some dance photography. I'm kind of known as the ballerina guy, and recently I've gotten involved in macro. From an equipment standpoint, I use Sony mirrorless cameras. And from an editing standpoint, I use Adobe Lightroom. And I'm just going into Photoshop now, beginning to learn Photoshop now. And then I've used a number of Topaz artificial intelligence type projects.
Now you mentioned macro briefly. What's that?
Macro is up close.
Ah.
I've got some extension tubes. I don't have any lenses yet. And so, I've been playing with, flowers and bugs and stuff like that. So one of the things that really motivated me to do India as a subject is the little gallery on Winslow Way. They had a bunch of photographers, had a bunch of paintings, and I saw a painting a picture that kind of like what I took. And I said, gee, I want to do that sometime. And so I figured that'd be a good thing. So like many of others, my travel plans have been totally dashed this year. So I spent, like you said, the primarily taking pictures of flowers in my yard and improving my post-processing skills. And so I chose to revisit India because those were taken pretty early in my learning process of photography. And I had really, that was my first camera. My lenses were not so neat. So the equipment wasn't so great. My technique wasn't so great. I made lots of mistakes. And so this gave me a chance from a post-processing standpoint to actually take some images that I really, really liked and try to salvage them into something that came out a little bit better. After I did a lot of selection to kind of begin to tell a story of my experience. It's not really a travel log. I'm really glad I went. The trip was a photographer's paradise, but I'm not sure I would go back. We had a hard time in the 2 weeks we were there, really coming to grips with all the issues. India will assault your senses and your sensibility. It's a home of 4 religions, so you try to get your arm around Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and Sikhism, and all the impacts of history and the cultural aspects and clashes. There are incredibly beautiful things like architecture and scenery, the animals, the colors are just phenomenal. But then there's a lot of dark subjects like poverty, the caste system, roadside prostitution, and probably the most horrific is the acid attack victims, plus a lot of smells, noise, etc. That really at every turn, you are bombarded. So with that, let's kind of get started with pictures. Okay. This is not in the order that basically the trip ran, but I figured what better place, because everybody who's going to go to India, what's the first thing you think about? The Taj Mahal, okay? And you want to get your selfie there. And we had people in our tour that took a selfie probably every 5 minutes. But when you get to the Taj Mahal, it's pretty complex. The area is huge. There is lots of scaffolding. There are people crawling all over the place. And so, after you get that selfie or that image with you within the background, it's really kind of difficult. So in, going around, I found this really nice reflection pond, and I decided, wow, this is really cool. I can get, kind of that feeling of what that is, the beauty, without all those people and all that scaffolding and all that kind of stuff. So this was kind of like, the first, major piece of that. And, plus when you get up close, it's not so neat looking, but, this really gives you that image or that reflection of what that really is. When you go to the next one, I chose this next one because this is the other view of the Taj Mahal. If you were the guy that built this, you spent the end of your life looking at this. It's a mausoleum for his dead wife, and his son put him in prison in this other building that's right there. And he spent the end of his life looking at this beautiful building and the veils around it and that beautiful land you see from the other side. But now you can see lots of it's really pretty ugly scene. The river is very polluted. You have a lot of cattle grazing. If you look up into the sky in the right hand corner, it looks like a bunch of dust spots, which normally a photographer would try to take out, but those aren't dust spots. Those are carrying kind of crows and stuff like that. So there's a lot of just kind of filth that's in that, and that gives you more of a real perspective of what that is and the things that are around the Taj Mahal. Like I said, this is an assault to your senses. It's called First Lunch. And literally, the day we arrived in Italy, we had a orientation, with our tour guide. We met some of the people that we didn't already know because we actually traveled with. There were about maybe 10 or so of the 16 people were friends or friends of friends that we knew. And after we got through that orientation, we went to visit this Sikh temple, and this was lunch. Okay. And we ate lunch. This is not a static thing. They turn this over every half hour, and it's like this all the time. Okay. And at the end of this, you're going to get to see this a little bit more to kind of see what this is really, really like. But this was kind of like major culture shock of what we began to get immersed in the the various aspects of India. Okay. The previous picture was in New Delhi. This is Old Delhi, and Old Delhi is kind of segregated into kind of two sections: a Muslim section and a Hindu section. And this is from the Muslim section. We were riding around in kind of a rickshaw, and this was a picture of kind of a charity situation where basically this restaurant was feeding a number of hungry people, and it was just kind of the pictures I took, this was the one I think that represented probably the nicest image of what was going on there. It was incredibly chaotic, and this was semi-peaceful at this juncture. You contrast that with the next picture, which is the Hindu. You have very bright colors, a lot more vibrant. I had to pick this because it's so typical. It's the Indian wedding bling and whatnot, and just the colors begin to jump out at you, and all the bling, and it was a lot less chaotic, and a lot. I mean, there were a lot of people, but it was just a significant step above the overall feeling that you got between those two sections. We were traveling to a place, and we stopped in a town for lunch, and we went to visit like a market. It was market day, and a lot of activity, elephants, camels, cows everywhere. School kids would stop you and want them to take your picture. This guy just jumped out at me. I just love, the feeling you get. This guy is so happy, and I couldn't capture all the smoke from the popcorn, which I really wish I could have. But I just love this photograph because it just got such a mood to it. Outside of Jaipur, took my life in my hand and did a balloon trip, and we got up before dawn, and we were up in the balloon, and I just love this. I have a whole bunch of other pictures from the balloons and of the balloons and of the villagers and what down there. But this kind of stood out for me as just a nice feel of a landscape. Excuse me. Before we go to the next one, I want everybody to start kind of thinking about sitar music, and those drums, and just kind of get into that rhythm that you've all heard it and stuff, but just start thinking about that. Okay, Reed, go to the next one. We spent a lot of time on a bus, and and this is a snapshot out of the window of a bus. It's blurry, but there were so many scenes like this, and this turned out to be one of my better ones of the landscape. This is a mustard seed field, and they're basically growing these mustard seed, and they're making like a cooking oil from it. But you have all these colors out there. It's just flowing, and if you think about sitar music, it's just kind of, it's that feeling that you get traveling through there. And so I've done a lot of things to try to salvage this out, playing with effects to kind of even blur it just a little bit more, to kind of still make that kind of feel, trying to bring that out. And again, more roadside scenes, just a lot of activity with people walking, trucks everywhere. They're all decorated up with all the colors and stuff. I happened to be sitting in the back, so I had a good, it was pretty bumpy, but I had a good ability to take some shots. And along there were, when you pull off, there were all these, it was like roadside prostitution. I have a wonderful picture of a pimp flipping me the bird. So didn't want to put that one in, but it was just like these trucks, and you'd see them everywhere. One of the kind of the coolest places that we went to was Rathenberg National Park. It's a tiger park, and there's all these wonderful old buildings, and it's like, it's kind of like going back in time to colonial or pre-colonial India, with Maharajas, and just kind of a whole different feel. We stayed in the only really nice hotel that we stayed in was there. It was like, we're going back in time, and at a really high end. It was just absolutely gorgeous, and I really liked this particular this particular scene, because it was kind of one of the nicer old ruins that were out there. I wanted to go back and take a picture of this, kind of, in some of these things, ruins on foot rather than from a Jeep. But this guy was out there, and so one of the true highlights was actually seeing. We saw tigers the 2 days we were there. The first day, our Jeep was actually the one that actually spotted the tiger, but we were in a horrible position. The next day, we were late to a ride, but we had a really good position. And this guy is about, probably 30 some feet away from you, and he's walking along, and he's pretty upset. He didn't like us being there, but it was so cool. And called this Holy Cow and Holy Smoke, and there are cows everywhere. There's trash everywhere, and to me, this kind of represented what you typically see in a village. And in a village, they do a lot of cooking with cow dung. And here are a couple ladies that are making cow patties, and I found that pretty interesting. The colors and whatnot of the ladies that are working, and in the jobs that they were doing, but took a large number of pictures related to that. Outside of this village, there was this thing called a step well. Actually, my background is kind of from there as well. But this is a thing that goes deep, deep, deep in the ground, like 300 feet, and it's got these steps. And they basically used to get their water there. And there was a sweeper. You saw these sweepers everywhere, brightly colored, and so this was kind of the best picture of the sweeper that I was able to take.
So when you say step well, is this the top, and then those steps will go down lower, or?
Oh yeah, the steps would go down lower. I talked about acid victims, and so this wasn't on our itinerary, but we had a free afternoon, and our guide basically took us to Shiro's, and basically it's a cafe that's being run by acid attack victims. Horrific, and you can see the sign on the upper right, a beautiful picture, down below. And I didn't take my camera in there. I had my iPhone. I did record a little bit of a video. One of the survivors, this is probably the most horrific thing that I experienced. One of the survivors and her daughter were attacked. Basically, the mother was just scarred. The daughter was actually scarred and blinded by the acid. The mother-in-law threw acid on them because she didn't produce a boy, and that was a major kind of issue. The daughter, though, these ladies are recovering. They're running this cafe. It gives them a way to earn a living, but also to make a statement about this, and trying trying to get an input to it. The daughter had a beautiful voice, and so I took a video of her singing, and there's some positive. The day after we went there, in the local newspaper, that we got, the national news, they had basically posted a story. And so I was sitting on a train and I was reading this story, and I said, I'm going to take a picture. That's going to be my picture. And I put this together to kind of begin to, tell this story and whatnot. And that was a really horrific, but also positive experience that was kind of happened unplanned. There's a series of temples that are, a lot of people don't go there because it's really far out of the way. We had taken a train and a significant bus ride to Khajuraho or whatever, and there's all these temples of erotic images and stuff like that. And this is one of them that it was really nice because of the light, and so I chose that. There are not a lot of images there. I didn't want to kind of include anything that had that in there, but the light and just kind of that feel of this temple, and it's really a cool place. It's just so out of the way to really get there.
It looks closed in here, but are there parts of the temple that are more open?
Oh, there's this is like inside. This is like a huge complex of about 4 or 5 different temples and stuff like that. It's just a huge area, but some of the ones on the outside, there are a lot of graphic images of things. Very interesting is the way they picture. They have giants and little people involved in all these things, and so there's some mythology involved about this whole thing. I think it has to do with promoting the caste system as well as you know, the Kama Sutra.
Well, I came across in the Hebrew Bible references to giants as well as small people. It's kind of interesting that that is a kind of a theme across cultures.
Mm-hmm. This picture of the mischievous girl is in the little town surrounding the temple, and I was attracted to the various colors, you know, of this kind of paint that they used to make the dots on the foreheads, and the bonus was this little girl who was climbing around and whatnot, and so everywhere you'd go, you'd see kind of the shop owners, their kids were kind of, you know, hanging out with them and whatnot, and you know, and watching. But it's just like this was such a some lagniappe, so to speak. Probably one of the most intense 36 hours that I ever spent in my life was spent in Varanasi, where the Ganges is. Basically, I think we got there like about 3 in the afternoon the day before I took this picture. The prime minister was having a very big political rally there because that's his home state. And it was crowded with people, although it's always crowded with people. And the next morning we got up before dawn and we went to the Ganges and pretty intense. And then we were there kind of very, very late. And the next day we left very early. So I think I was there somewhere between 30 and 36 hours. And I put together a slideshow this year for the Northwest Camera Club, basically kind of a day in the life of a series of pictures that I took in 24 hours. We couldn't show that because of the copyright with the Beatles song that was there. But this was like so intense, and you know, you have, you know, holy people running around. You've got bathers. You know, you've got cremations and all kinds of religious ceremonies going on. You know, people that are giving massages to kind of, you know, get people ready to deal with their you know, facial massages to get ready to deal with, you know, the funeral or, you know, their various roles. And so it's really, really interesting. And I love this morning picture. This is a picture I've shown in one of our competitions on purple because of the girl. I'm going to talk about photo processing here. You know, one of the key things we learn in you know, in photography is to you know, use the healing brush to deal with distracting elements. Well, I did a lot of that, and I, you know, really concentrating. My wife, after looking at this and all the critiquers, my wife pointed out that there is a distracting element in there that I missed, and I was concentrating on the girl and the swimmers and trying to get all the waters and all the dust spots out of there, but I missed one. So it's always a tip. You got to always look for those distracting elements. Okay. And this is the picture that I saw, a similar picture at the little gallery on Winslow. It's saying good night to the Ganges and stuff. And after we had taken a boat ride, and you can just see all the people and stuff in these ceremonies. And this happens every day and every morning and every night, and in between. It's just a constant amount of people and stuff with that and whatnot. There are so many people, and we were moving really quick there, so it's like you didn't get a lot of time to set up. We had, and you're going to see in a moment, I have a little film clip that we had a group of kids that had lost their hearing and their ability to speak, but they were our tour guides, and it was like being herded by Australian shepherds to basically keep us together and keep us from getting lost in kind of the throng. So here is what 1 minute of India is like. Watch out here.
I want to thank you all for coming and for participating and supporting the center, and very happy to be partnering with BI Photo Club.